Good, Proto. We'll start the meeting with the Karakia, so please stand if you're able. Ko te awa karangi te ahunu tokono o te konahira nei. Tuia kia ngā tahi ngā whakariro, tuia kia ngā tahi te riri, tuia kia ngā tahi te whakatonga, hei whariki, tuhu mā te hapori, humie, huie, tai. Thank you. We have the housekeeping on the screen. Important to remember to leave your mobile devices off. The toilets are just through here, and in the event of an emergency, you'll know what to do. But our exits, closest exit is just next to the council chambers here. If you require assistance in an evacuation, please let one of our officers know. Although there's not many left of them now. They were all full in the room. So we're going to first start with apologies, declarations of interest, and then we'll move to public forum. So we have an apology for late sales. Second. To declare seven. Before we begin, I'd just like to outline how this run. The aim is to ensure that there's fairness and respect to keep things moving, so that everyone who has been gets a chance to be heard. It's 5 minutes. The bell will sound in 4 minutes. That indicates we should wrap up. Please speak clearly, focus on your key points. If you agree with something that has been said, you're welcome to acknowledge rather than repeating the same point. I ask you to avoid criticising staff. All language will be, you'll be stopped and asked to leave. And councillors around the table may ask for questions of clarification spoken about today. It is not an opportunity for debate. So thank you so much all for joining us. We haven't had a full house like this for a while, so it's an interesting experience for us just to work out the logistics. Thanks all for your patience on that. First, we have Heather Blissett, who's speaking to 5, the Tiaki Wai transfer of assets. Kia ora, Heather. All right. I have to say that over the years we've never had a security for public. It would be nice if public just felt a bit more included in these proceedings, rather than like the enemy. I'm here to talk about Tiaki Wai. The purpose, I think it's been handled like a scammer. The purpose is to make it a quick without verifying information. Recommendation given is to slow down, take a deep breath. I couldn't find the public request must be made a decision. I do know that has previously been cited, so I request that it be removed one of the assets, one of the future projects. For a plan change, just one up. Also, why is amalgamation not on the agenda? Decision. All decisions affects the well-being of everyone. Aotearoa consistently records some of the highest family and intimate partner violence in the OECD. Family violence is half of all reported crime. Hutt 7,490 reported per month. Only 33% reported 67% of
family harm is not reported. Recent most family violence call-outs. 1 in 3 women in this room will experience some form of abuse in their lifetime. 1/4 of the women in this room will experience intimate partner violence, remembering 76% are unreported. So when you think about your decision making today, I just wanted to expand your thinking, because this isn't just water, this is the well-being of the community that you represent. And I'm just saying, today I'm asking you, when after today you're going to be a 1-vote council. After today I'm asking you to be a 3-vote majority. So please, Taiho. Thank you.
Would you like to take the questions, or you're happy not to?
Yep.
You are happy to?
Yep.
Okay. Do any councillors have any questions? Councillor Ultra.
Could I ask you to elaborate on the piece of land that you mentioned?
So Silverstream Forest, which everyone knows as Guildford. So there are 3 future projects that have been listed or tagged as future need for infrastructure, and they were in the 20th of August 2024 document. I think they're also in the 2025. So it actually was in the document late last year as requiring infrastructure. So there was Silverstream Forest and St. Pat's and the Gillespie's block. So I just wonder, they never went through a plan change. Should they even be on there? Because we haven't agreed to it. So why are they even on an asset transfer list? A list that I haven't seen.
Any further questions? Thank you. We have our next speaker, Teresa Homan, also speaking to item 5, the Tiaki Wai transfer agreement.
You need something to.
You need a support person. You're welcome to have someone else with you if you like.
Kia ora, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. And unlike Heather, I'm glad to see you've got a security guard. I hope you will behave yourselves and don't get At a public meeting held last night to consider the proposed handover of Upper Hutt residents' water delivery and services to a combined council water corporation, so named Tiaki Wai Limited, and the edict by central government to amalgamate this council with other councils in the region, all 30 attendees voted to request that you, the Upper Hutt City Council, Taiho, in signing Upper Hutt's water services and assets over to the council corporation, Tiaki Wai. The reason for this is for you, the Council of Upper Hutt, to provide them the residents you represent and whose assets you control and manage on their behalf, reliable information as to the projected costs, savings and increased efficiencies which will come from this relationship with other councils and adoption of this council cooperation, you know what I mean, Tiaki Wai, in owning and delivering of our water assets and services. We are concerned that your decision to enter into this agreement was based on inaccurate information, exampled by the requirement by the Minister of Local Government, Simon Watts, through the Commerce Commission to rework their proposed cost and funding budget. There is also great concern about the cost of water meters to enable Tiaki Wai to financially restrict residents' access to water. We understand that as a collective group, you may be concerned by the threat from the local government Minister Simon Watts and Minister Christopher Bishop that they will take action against you. We promise we will have your back. Say no, tai ho, not yet, kia kaha. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to take questions? Have Church, Councillor Alter.
Could I ask you what alternative you can see for us at this very late stage in the process? So if we were to say no today, what would the alternative be?
Tracy, what I think is what I said. I think you should wait. I think the people of Upper Hutt need more information. We don't have accurate, or most people in Upper Hutt have no idea about what is happening with their water and their services. You have to explain to them, you know, the Tiaki Wai chair is saying we'll explain to them how their bill will come and what their bill will be about. You know, that doesn't sound like the people know. And I'm asking you to give them time. If you think this is a good idea, then take some time and explain it to the people you represent.
Any further questions for? Thank you, Teresa. We have Janet Burgess next, also speaking to the same item.
Hello,
Hello, kia ora.
I'm talking on Tiaki Wai. I'm just here to ask you all to vote no to this proposal. Upper Hutt is being ripped off by Tiaki Wai, firstly starting with the $4,000 to install a water meter that costs $175 per Bluetooth. Where in Auckland they're only paying $400. People won't be able to afford this money to pay for this, and nobody will want to live in Upper Hutt, and it will become a ghost town. I also believe it is unfair the way that they are charging us for the water in the future. Part of Upper Hutt's slogan has always been it's a great place to live. So I ask you all to have the guts to stand up and say no to this. It doesn't have to be signed till June 2027, which is next year. So yes, like Teresa says, tai ho. Let's keep Upper Hutt a great place to live and say no to Tiaki Wai for now.
Thank you, Janet. Would you like to have questions?
Yeah, sure, bring them on.
Yeah.
Councillor Hammond.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Janet. So you're not against this, you just want us to hold
I'm
back?
against paying for my water, but why should somebody who has a $750,000 house, 6 people, somebody who has $1.5 million house or something, lived, saved, worked hard all their life, one person. This person in the more expensive house is paying a lot more. I don't mind eventually having to pay for using the water that I use, but I don't like the way that Tiaki is looking at it.
No. And where did you get the $4,000 a meter?
I saw that online.
Did you? Well,
Yes.
for Timu.
No, don't you, excuse me, we're supposed to be respectful.
I'm sorry, yeah, no, where did you get?
I can get a plumber to install one for me
Yeah, and
at a lot less.
yeah, but just ask, where did you get the $4,000?
Well, that's probably out of part of the chief executive's salary. But I saw it online.
Does anyone else have any further questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we've got Guy Nunns, also speaking to the same item. Kia ora, Guy.
Sorry, I'm just eating some bread, Bruce, not. Full disclosure, I am not a member of your constituency. I am from Wellington. I'm here because I am very, very frightened and anxious for the ratepayer, the resident, the homeowner of Upper Hutt City. I see rates rising within 3 years to double what they are now. I see rates rising collective, the base rate and the water rate rising to maybe 3 times in 10 years. This is not my conjecture. This is what has been reliably reported by experts in the media. I am very concerned that the financial viability of this city is at risk. Now, I know the reasons why we are doing this. We were told that the infrastructure is compromised totally. That's an absolute nonsense. I'm a tradesman of 40 years. I asked you to excuse my attire today. I have come straight from work. It's an absolute nonsense. Any day of the week I come to houses, there might be a plate, a bottom wooden plate in a house, and it's full of bora, maybe half full of bora. And I've got to decide at what point do I cut it out and replace it? How far do I go? I can tell you now, if I came in with the attitude of Tiaki Wai and this greater council body, I'd be demolishing absolutely everything. That is a great concern to me, and it should be a very real concern to every ratepayer in this constituency. I'm asking all of you here at this table today to follow your common sense and your conscience and resist the resistance that has come against you, telling you you have to vote this particular way. You don't. The system is not going to collapse if you choose today to postpone your action. And that's what I'm calling for. I'm calling for you people, all of you, to collectively decide today, for all of Wellington's sake, to make a decision not to do this today, and make sure from this point, make full resolve to use all the time that you were given for consulting your constituency and coming to the very best decision you can make. That's my case. Thank you.
What would you like us to consult on? Because there is a lot of information available. What information don't you have that you would like to have?
I don't know if any of you have seen some of the videos I have put up online. In one of them, I pointed to the fact that when Wellington City did its consultation, 713 submissions were put in for 200,000 people. That's less than 0.5%, I think, or close to. That is ridiculous. You can ask the common man, woman in the street, what do they know about Tiaki Wai? Well, funnily enough, 6 months ago, they knew absolutely nothing. But now that I put out my videos 3, 4, 5 days ago, they're starting to be very much more concerned about what they don't know and they want to know.
Any further questions for Guy? Thank you. Everyone's keeping very well to time today, so I appreciate that. We've got a long meeting ahead of us, so we're really grateful. We've got Stephen Pattinson next, who I think
Just outside.
just outside. Have we, Fiona, would you be able to grab him? Thank you. Thanks for your patience, Stephen.
Well, thank you.
I'm sure you know our emergency procedures, so I won't go back through them for you, but they're on the screen if you need.
Well, Mesny and councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'd like to formally table my report, warning signs, debris and flood modelling risk in Pinehaven and Silver Spring, report on the 18th of April 2026 storm, and my material that I'm presenting today. Thank you. This is not about opposing flood protection, it's about making flood protection, making sure it's based on the right evidence, the right model, and the right understanding of risk. That's Greater Wellington's 10-year flood map. It shows Pinehaven Reserve and many surrounding homes flooded. But in 3 larger real floods, 8th of December 2019, 16th of February and the 18th of April this year, Pinehaven Reserve and about 100 or so supposedly flooded properties did not flood. This affects limbs, insurance and property values while still not identifying the actual mechanism of harm. The 18th of April storm and other events recently have shown what the real mechanism of harm may be. Runoff from the hills after forest clearance. There's been sediment, gravel, rocks, woody debris, block culverts, scoured stream beds, bank erosion, a debris dam and 2 landslides. At Wyndham Road, a culvert was blocked by gravel, rocks, wood and sediment. At 125 Pinehaven Road, about 30 cubic metres of gravel and debris were removed after the February flood, then the culvert overtopped again in April. In the upper Pinehaven stream valley, a large debris dam formed, raising the stream bed by about 1.6 metres. There have also been 2 landslides on steep, recently exited Guildford lands above Pinehaven and Silverstream. My report does not ask Council to accept that GDC forestry clearance is the only cause of every problem, but the location of the clearances, the downhill flow paths and the material coming downstream is consistent with a serious catchment scale risk that must be independently investigated. This matters especially for residents upstream of Pinehaven Reserve. These residents are affected by Pinehaven stream flooding, but they're not receiving the benefit of the current stream works, which are focused downstream of Pinehaven Reserve. And when they are flooded, they're told it's a private property drainage issue. They're being told that Greater Wellington's Isolated Works Subsidy Fund does not cover their situation because the problem was on private property. That is not flood protection. It is telling upstream residents to manage the forest clearance consequences themselves. So some upstream residents are in the worst possible situation. They get no protection from the stream works, no assistance when flooded, and they may face increased future runoff if Guildford's proposed development is assessed against a flawed baseline flood model. Hydraulic neutrality depends on a reliable baseline. A developer should have to show that post-development runoff will not be any greater, no faster, and no more damaging than pre-development runoff. But if the baseline already exaggerates present-day runoff by treating the forested hills as if future development is already there, then the true impact of development can be hidden. For a large hillside development like Guildford's proposed Silverstream Forest, that is a serious risk. If the model overstates existing runoff, then additional development runoff may be made to look as if it is neutral when in fact it is not. Communities downstream could then receive more runoff, more sediment, more debris, more block culverts, more erosion and more landslide risk, while the modelling shows no significant increase in runoff. That is why Bob Hall warned that overstating pre-development runoff can hide the actual scale of change when development occurs, and that hydraulic neutrality will not happen. Before Council makes further decisions on Pinehaven stream improvements, I ask Council to first require an urgent independent review of the Pinehaven hydrology and hydraulic model, including recalibration against the observed flood events on December 2019, February 26 and April 26. Second, reassess the Pinehaven stream improvement project against the recalibrated model and the real risks now observed in the upper catchment. And third, recognise that affected residents include all residents affected by flooding, upper catchment runoff, debris movement, landslide risk and future development, not just those properties that are directly affected by the stream works downstream of the reserve. Just about there. The stream works must be for all affected residents. The 18 April storm was another warning sign from the hills. Please do not treat this as a private property drainage problem. Please treat it as a catchment evidence that must be investigated before further decisions on stream improvements are locked in. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Councillor Opera.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those photos. That was really helpful to see the gauges in the streams with the photos. That was really helpful. I live on a rural hill, and so I know what it's like with so many trees making a lot of mess, and every time it rains there's a lot of movement of tree branches and stuff from the bush comes down the hill, and that's something that we're consistently cleaning up. Is that something that you see as, I just don't see how we can keep on top of something like that, but it's not, like you said, it's not just whether there's development or not, it's the nature of hills, and then Pinehaven is quite a narrow valley, and that's a lot of hills for a small valley and a lot of trees for a small valley, so that every time you clean up, the next day there's more leaf litter and more sticks and bits all over the road. So just wondered how much you think we can do in terms of management.
Yes, I'm not really talking about problems with leaf litter like we have trucks going around cleaning the gutters and things. I'm talking about that sort of issue there.
Yeah.
That's not stuff that normally comes down out of the forest, and neither is that. That is a raised stream bed. There's a photo of me in the report standing, in fact, on the front page. That's 1.6 metres high. It's about 4 or 5 metres wide, and it's about 20 or 30 metres long. That is rocks, gravel, sediment, woody debris washed down the river from the sort of erosion that you see in the report. That's what we're asking you to do something about. We're not worried about leaf litter. We're worried about the effect of extra runoff coming off the hills and washing down this sort of material down the stream beds and the stream channels, clogging up the channels, clogging up the culverts, and residents just being told, well, that's your personal private property issue. That's what we want you to address.
A question from Councillor McCann.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Stephen, for that. Just have you, because part of it is around the NES, the Environment Standard for Forestry. Have you approached anybody or any of the ministers around that, and what has been their response?
I've actually something I'd expect the council to do, because I've actually brought this to the council's attention several times before, like I said in the report, this way back in 2018, because no measures were put into the floodplain management plan by Greater Wellington for managing slash up on the hills, even though it was a recognised problem and exacerbates flooding. Nothing was put into the district plan when this council did plan change 42. And when the National Environmental Standards for Plantation Forestry first came out, I did check through it and there was nothing in there either that addresses our situation. It's quite unique. We've got a plantation forest directly above urban and existing urban communities. That's a unique situation. And it doesn't, even if there is anything in it just got renamed as the National Environmental Standard for Commercial Forestry, even if there is anything in there, it's not working, because how on earth does that happen if you've got someone regulating the forestry company to prevent that sort of thing from happening? It's not working. There's nothing in that specifically addresses our situation. And if you go back and look at the Wellington Regional Water Board report back in 1976, R.G. Bishop, the Wellington Regional Engineer, recommended that special provisions be put in place for this catchment because of the unique situation. And it still hasn't been done. And it's getting serious. That is scary. Have you any idea? There's about 150, 200 cubic meters of debris sitting behind that debris trap. Has anyone assessed the structural integrity of that debris trap? When a local resident told Wellington Water about it, all that happened was a week later they got an email back saying, "We've looked at the fault and it's been repaired." If you have any further, require any further information, contact Upper Hutt City Council.
We'll move on to the next question because this is becoming an operational matter.
Excuse
I'll
me.
go to Councillor Swales.
Thank you, Your Worship. Stephen, I don't know whether you're aware, but Greater Wellington Regional Council in 2025 put in some telemetry sites into the stream, right, to look and start gathering data, and that those sites have been there with the most recent events that have happened there. And they're looking to check on the modelling that they had did or that they had done in 2015. So are you aware that they're actually starting to work on this? And this was an email that I got from Regional Council just yesterday to reconfirm, because I did ask a question at a workshop and one of our officers, Tim, also got the same email. We were both CC'd into it. So your arguments or your information, and thank you for the 90-page report, has not fallen on deaf ears. There is work happening, but maybe not as fast as you like.
Thank you, Councillor Swales. I have actually addressed this in both reports, the one that I did for February 2026, and also in this report, as Councillor Ultra just mentioned, the photos of that new stream gauge site. Yes, I am aware of it, and we're not happy that that has happened without any consultation with the public. We're also not happy that the stream gauge site has been moved to Sunbury Road. And I've explained in the report why, in both those reports. It's not going to be comparable with historical records because it's in a different location and it doesn't capture the whole catchment. It also doesn't look to be very stable, as you see in this report that I've just given you, that the two piles of rocks either side have been swept away in the February event and then in the April event. And also it's not even positioned properly in the stream to be taking the reading from the stream bed. The gauge is about 270 mils off the bottom of the stream bed. So you're going to get incorrect readings of the water level.
So
why didn't they just reinstall the gauge at the original gauge site, which is a more stable and reliable location, and it also would mean that new readings that they're collecting would be able to be related to historical records. Why don't they do that?
Allow councillor Swales to follow up.
Yeah, and we're probably going to debate.
Yeah, no debate, but a follow up is fine,
but
yep.
All we can say is that we've been told that they are reviewing and they are putting, and have already put these in place, these telemetry sites, whether we agree with them or not. But we can only go with the partnership that we have.
There's no question.
So hopefully you will get the opportunity to address that when it comes out.
We've been addressing it for years,
Sorry.
and nobody is listening. I'd just like to say, I would like to say, please.
This isn't a debate, so we're going to move on to the final question. Councillor Carey.
Yeah, I guess it was around, we've got a lot of focus on the commercial forestry and the risk from commercial forestry, but a lot of the imagery doesn't look like
Forestry.
slash or those sort of things in there. Now, I'm not saying that that's not a contributor, but how much do you think is actually just increase in severe weather, increase in rainfall and the periods of them, and that as well that's contributing to just general stability?
We all know that there's an issue of climate change, but even Greater Wellington themselves say that in this small catchment, climate change for a 100-year event is only contributing less than 100 millimetres inundation in this catchment. We're talking about 25-year events, say, or a 20-year event. It's negligible. What you're seeing in these photos and in my report goes way beyond. The effects that we're seeing of extra runoff goes way beyond what you could attribute to climate change. Climate change is not the issue. The issue is bad flood modelling. And as far as Greater Wellington saying that they're collecting new data, they're saying they're not going to upgrade the model till 2027-28. In the meantime, we've got fast track Guildford being assessed against this flood model, this flawed flood model.
I'm gonna end this because it's not unrelated to what we're in front of today. So
why aren't they calibrating it against these 3 floods that we've had? You give me evidence that this model has been calibrated against any real floods. I have given you tons of evidence to show you that this model has not been calibrated against any real floods. You cannot produce any evidence. You need to do your own.
Excuse me, Stephen, I'd like you to stop talking
other than just soaking up everything Greater Wellington's telling you, because it's not.
Could you stop talking, please, now, Stephen? Your time is up, and you've had lots of.
I apologise, but I have given you a ton of information, and I get 5 minutes to speak.
Yeah, we're running a little bit out of patience.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that what Steve showed you, that debris dam that is directly above clearing from Guildford's, all where it's coming down is above clearing from Guildford. You've got that huge dam on. Do you want another Taonga on?
We're now moving on to extending the public forum. So
that's what you've
I'm going to move first that we extend the public forum beyond 30 minutes. For the seconder, Councillor Carey. So we've got 2 further speakers in extended past our 30 minutes. All those in favour say aye.
Aye. We arrived late. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you very much. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
No. Excellent. So now we have time for our 2 final speakers. Would you like to sit together or take it separately? It's up to you.
Well, I've been stuck with you for nearly 30 years, so.
You may as well. Our next 2 speakers are Kate Fabian and Paul Fabian, and I'll let you decide whether you want to both speak and then take questions individually. It's up to you. I don't mind.
Want to go first?
Yep.
Okay.
Go if you like.
I'm here to speak on Tiaki Wai. There was a partners meeting, committee meeting on the 13th of March. Tiaki Wai spoke very clearly that only 1 in 6 know about Tiaki Wai. That's it. Count around the room and decide how many of you would actually know about Tiaki Wai. Walking down the street, people are oblivious. They have no idea that an intergenerational thing is actually going to be hitting them on the 1st of July. I'm sorry if I speak either too quiet or too loud. I actually have a really blocked ear. So I'm not grumpy, I'm just can't hear. The concerns I have is that there are so many unknowns. We have followed this since October 2024. We have spoken to hundreds of people. We believe Upper Hutt is probably one of the more educated out of the Wellington region. We have delivered pamphlets. We have been called everything under the sun by some people who think we've been off our rocker. In the last month, they've actually started to really understand what is going on. It's a shame that they've had to find it out from the public. We said at a meeting in the library 2 weeks ago that they will follow you, Meza. They will follow you. But you have not wanted to have a public meeting to talk to people, to help settle them. You had over 5,500 people put you in that seat. You door knocked. We listened. And they are screaming out for information. We left our home the other night at 10 o'clock at night to a pensioner who was really concerned about her rates rebate because of an article that went through and it didn't have enough information in it. It said if you're under $2,000, well, once your water's taken out, yes, she was under 2,000. She's a pensioner. She relies on every last cent of that $835 of that rebates. She relies on it. And we are answering those questions for these people. And it is really sad. And then today, you are going to decide to pass over assets, which we are going to stand guarantor for, and generations to come are going to stand guarantor for. And ultimately, you know, if it goes belly up, people that own their own properties or are paying off their properties, they are the ones that are going to lose. Chris Bishop, the other day, at a meeting we were at, he said, it's okay, the government state-owned properties where people rent, the government will take care of them. There is nothing in place to help the private renter. So if you were to lose your home tomorrow due to Tiaki Wai's bills, there is nothing unless you end up in a state house. There is nothing to help you and assist you, which is absolutely gut-wrenching. So I just want to say that to the people that might be watching at home that have contacted us, either because they've backed us, they haven't backed us, they've thought we're pressure cookers, we just hope that you will be able to prepare in the very short time frame that you have available to you, which is only a couple of weeks really. And we're sorry we could not have done more. And we are sorry that our councillors and our mayor chose not to have a meeting to at least tell our community that if they're within a 100-metre water source, that it's too bad. You're still going to get charged 50%. You're still going to get charged. They don't know what happens if they've got a soak pit in their backyard. They don't know what happens. There are so many unknowns. And today, we're pretty sure you guys, we know which way you're probably going to vote, but we hope that common sense will say you're going to put your foot down, you're going to keep your voice, and you're going to be able to answer the community when they ask you questions, because you're not going to be sitting here where Tiaki Wai says it should be in the document. We're planning for it to be in the document. We assume it will be in the document. You are more clever, you're more intelligent than to fall for that kind of talk. Nobody in this room, I believe, would be silly enough to go and buy a house and not get their contract seen over and see it in black and white before they agree to it. This council and the previous council, this council on the 10th of October last year, December, sorry, I came in and I asked for you to defer. In that time, I've even seen Ray Chung from Wellington holding up his phone, taking a picture of the site that says that you could have held off for a year.
Thank you, Kate. I think we have councillor Swales already.
Thank you for coming along, Kate, and thank you for acknowledging that probably Upper Hutt is one of the more enlightened councils out of the 5 that are contributing. But I just want to ask you a question. I'm sure that there's been a couple of councillors that have attended public meetings and taken offices from this council. The CFO, which was Kate Thompson, and she was the CFO, and the previous chief executive to answer and field any questions before the entity of Tiaki Wai, and it was just mentioned Metro Water. Is that not true?
Yes, that is true. But I think as Tiaki Wai have got on board, and they're the ones that are directing this really.
Yep.
They haven't come out. Listening to them the other day, they were excited that they got their bank account set up. Now, that's really sad.
Just a sort of follow-up. Has anyone approached Tiaki Wai to ask them if they would come to do a public meeting? Sorry. I'm putting this to Kate.
We have asked numerous questions of Tiaki Wai. We've also gone to, I had trouble pronouncing her name there, Deputy Kerry Pendergast. We've spoken to our Deputy Chair of the committee's partners, and they have gone in different directions to ask for information. There is no, it's like a ping pong match. They don't want to know until the 1st of July. The council doesn't want to touch it till the 1st of July. The partners committee seems to be asking everybody
But have you gone to Tiaki Wai? Because I know that Upper Hutt was one of the strongest submitters.
Yeah, we went to Tiaki Wai and asked them a whole lot of questions on behalf.
No, but for a public meeting.
We haven't asked them for a public meeting because at the time we assumed that because we had a representative on the partners committee since the 10th of December, December last year, that we would probably have a little bit, you know, we would have somebody that was invested in the people in Upper Hutt that would actually want to have that meeting. That was not to be.
Any further questions for Kate? No, thank you. Oh, Councillor Ultra.
What do you think are the most important issues that we need to answer to for the community? The people that are needing to know most.
There is a list a mile long, Tracy. I've only got one Toby on my property, but I live in a complex where there's 2 properties. I have a sleep out at the back, but only one Toby. I have a sump in my backyard and my house is in 1920s. We have numerous questions. I could sit here all day. The most important one, I think, is actually just go out there and say, do you know what Tiaki Wai is? And then you'll have your answer. And all the questions to the answer, all the answers to the questions that you know yourself, you know you need to relate to all of those people. We heard you in one of your meetings saying, shouldn't we be deferring the IT system and putting that money in on an open meeting, your workshop, and you were not allowed to get that answer during that open workshop. And these are the sorts of things that people want to know. Why is the back getting sorted out before the public, who are going to be standing guarantor for this, are finding out? They should be forefront in this, not the people behind it.
Further questions? No, thank you. We have Paul. Paul Fabian, thank you.
The standing orders, sorry. It's frustrating. There was a period there, and Councillor Swales has asked it, where there was engagement from council, and the chief executive and Kate Thompson. Thank you for coming along to those meetings and sharing what you did have at the time. Since Tiaki Wai has sort of been on the radar, Metro Water, which you wish to call it, things have gone a bit silent, both from Tiaki Wai, who actually don't have any staff or anything, Wellington Water, who's just getting on with Wellington Water things, and from the council. If I pull up the council website right now and go to our water's changing, what do I see? It's going to be 2 bills. That's it. There's nothing more. There's nothing. This is might be how much it's going to be costing you. There's no calculator for water. There's no information for the community to pick up and digest easily. Yes, there's hundreds of pages of water services plans on the Tiaki Wai website. There's pricing policies which you have to actually be almost a mathematician with 6 degrees to understand. But easily digestible information for the questions that the public are asking? No. As Kate has said, we have tried to digest and make that as simple as possible for people. Have we been always on the money? No. I'll admit that, because the information is so weird and wonderful or sporadic that you actually have to make some sort of judgment on what it's actually saying. That's where the council could have stepped up and actually made some sense of that for the community so that they could understand and they could come along for the ride. So that's got nothing to do with my submission. But $4,000 for water meters, not from Timu. I did a quick Google search right there. It took me 2 minutes. $590 million for the rollout of water meters so far, divided by around about 196,000 residential connections. That's $3,000 plus per water meter. Now that's from a 2-second Google search. I searched for 2 things. How many residential connections are there? And I already knew the 590 million from the media reports. I'm going to table this document. Some of you who I thanked for coming last night to the water meeting. There were 6 councillors, I believe. Thank you for coming. I'm going to table this document. It's information that we have. Now, one thing I want to raise is around the guarantors. People have raised about the guarantors, but from reading and understanding what's going on, we're not only the guarantors for Tiaki Wai, we're also the guarantors for Southern Water, Waikato Water, probably not Water Care in Auckland, but it depends whether they lend from LGFA. Currently, LGFA has around approximately $30 billion worth of debt. Now, if you multiply that around the 500% for revenue, that's approximately $1.93 billion in the first year. On the second year, with a 28% increase, it's $439 million of revenue. It comes to $246 billion, just Tiaki Wai. So you imagine that across the, now what did I find? 12 North Island entities and 7 new South Island entities. Now, I don't want to swear, but that's a hell lot of money that we're all standing guarantor for. You guys, us, everybody. Now, I think that's something to think about, and I think it's something that you want to make sure of what's happening and that it's going to be good for our city, our region, and just the people in general.
And your children. And friends.
I believe that there have been opportunities for this council and previous councils to say, hold on, we haven't got the information that we need to make an actual educated call on this. I understand there's been pressure, but I ask you now to say no.
Thank you, Paul. Do you have any questions? That's all.
Yeah,
Designated persons fee.
so in the late stage of this process that we're at now, if there was a vote for no, that would disrupt the whole region in terms of progressing this process.
Yep.
What would you say to that? What do you think?
I would say to that Upper Hutt City Council, if they believe this is the case, is acting in the best interest of the people. They are acting in the best interest of the council to say that we understand or we don't understand what we're actually signing up for because there's too many unknowns. There's too many ifs, buts, or maybes.
In their opinion.
And they're saying no to stand up for the community, who they are elected by, who they are representing. Now, I'm not saying that Tiaki Wai won't go ahead. I honestly believe it will. But let's make sure that we actually understand all the information. The community is educated so that they can actually understand what they're in for this year and the ongoing years. Half the people don't understand that this year is year 3 of the LTP's water costs, there or thereabouts. Next year, it's open slather. They've indicated 28%. It might be less, it might be more. But we don't know, do we? And at that point, you guys have no control over it whatsoever, apart from a statement of intent from the Partners Committee.
Intent.
Yes,
So if we were to say no, there would be additional costs to the council because we've already put a lot into that.
Sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, well, okay, do you think
Carry on.
that it's appropriate to increase costs to the council by saying no at this point?
I believe to get it right, to challenge those things like $4,000 water meters, to challenge the fact that, hey, they're actually going through a review of the prices now. Will Peters even said it in the statement, they're reviewing the prices. We don't have the understanding. Where the community is not up to speed with, okay, this is what it's changing, this is what it's going to cost.
You could save us thousands by saying no.
Whatever it might be, cost
Millions.
may save a lot in the long run. And it may save for the community. It may not save for council, but ultimately the money spent, you would hope, would provide dividends in the end from a perspective of people know, they understand. And hopefully some of those costs can be challenged and actually drilled down into to understand what they are and actually justify them or change them.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, I've got a follow up to Councillor Ultra's question in regard to our role. So we are obligated to either provide water services or transfer that obligation to another entity. On 1 July, Wellington Water will cease to exist. And that would mean if we were to defer, we would have no one to provide those water services, which are a health measure and would put lives at risk. Are you aware of the magnitude of that decision to put lives at risk?
So this decision should have been made a long time ago. Even the 10th of December, it could have been made to actually go, we're going to hold back, we need to understand them. So I understand the magnitude of it, but I also understand the magnitude of just flippantly saying yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying you guys are flippantly saying yes, but it seems like from a region, it's just yes, 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 yes.
Councillor Spark.
I have a couple of questions. So is the community wanting us to say no because they don't want us to relinquish our job to provide water into our community is my first question.
Absolutely.
I think I'm asking.
I'm sorry.
I'm asking all. Or is it that you don't believe that through this process that the information has been transparent enough for the community to be brought along with the decisions that have been made today? Which is it?
So there's
Is it?
two
Yeah,
questions
so there's
there.
two questions there.
So first question, it depends.
On,
Someone says, yes, we should stop and not.
I'm asking you.
But I'm saying, it depends on the person
How educated?
and how educated they are on the water and where it's at and what's been happening. It also depends on whether they care. Some people don't care, and that's fine. I respect that. So I think if you took a room of this size and polled this many people, you would get differing views on whether we should stop, whether it's about the transparency. Personally, I'm about the outcome and the transparency and the accountability to the community. I want the community to understand and have been communicated with, not to, with, around the costs that they're going to be incurring, what might be coming in the future. I understand this is the first year and there will be a 10-year LTP from the Tiaki Wai next year, but that's because we've gone early, right? I believe, my personal opinion is it's about the transparency, it's about the understanding. And that's why I'm saying we should be holding back because not all the questions are asked.
Thank you.
I have a question, follow up to Councillor as well. So in that regard,
get comfortable.
Yeah. In that regard, what informs your opinion that the status quo is provides you any more assurance that
Never said the status quo would.
So you're suggesting an alternate option?
No, what I'm saying is council and the community don't have enough information to make an informed decision from what we understand. Now, there are excluded bits, we understand that. In this current agenda, there is nothing on any of the transfer assets.
And yet it's not public.
But yet it doesn't say it's public excluded. Where are those? We've asked, we've been given a reason. I don't swallow that reason, but there is information there obviously that is public excluded. But from the information that the community is getting, and I would put myself in a position that I've read most, if not all, of the papers that have been out there, it's not enough information. I have questions. And if I have questions and I'm on the outside, sure as hell you guys have questions.
Councillor Walsh.
And from what you've said, do you believe with 1 in 6 people at this very late stage, with weeks to go, not even knowing, like if you ask them what Tiaki Wai is, they probably and they don't even know, right?
Yep.
Does that mean that, in your opinion, do you then think that the whole process and consultation has been inadequate?
I'll answer.
I did say they could speak together.
Stop.
You're welcome.
So to answer your question, I believe that council has been in a hard position. Yes. It has been put between a rock and a hard place. This is my analogy. You've been told to sell a car to a customer. You're in the middle, you have to sell it, these are the conditions and you have to sell it. The people at the back, whether that's government, Tiaki Wai, whoever the case may be, have instructed that this has to happen. And you are the poor people that have to try and sell it to the community. What I haven't seen is a lot of selling, but there have been pockets, and I stated in my submission, my time, that there have been Kate who came along and talked, and Jeff, our previous CEO, who came along and talked, and that was wonderful. Helen has also talked at the Hutt that we've been to, and Tracy as well. You even came along yourself and had a chat. So I appreciate those particular parts. What I would expect and what I would have expected from a consultation perspective after the two options that were the same last year, was this is where we're at, this is what we're doing, this is how it's going along. Hey community, this is indicative, and it can be put out there to say, hey, this is the indicative cost. The Scott report in October 2024 indicated that it would be around about $7 a day. Now, in 2034, it's going to be at least $20 a day. It's $6,800. So to answer your question, yes, I think the consultation across the region and the information across the region has been woeful.
Do we have any further questions, or shall we finish up there? Thank you both. We've finished the public forum now.
Thank you for your time.
So now we're going to be moving on to item 5, which is approval of the Tiaki Wai Limited transfer agreement. This is on page 36. And I invite our chief advisor, legal, to join us, and Joe Devine. Finance lead for Tiaki.
No, you don't want this one.
Oh, sorry, one last thing. If anyone had any speakers notes, you're still sorting that out, Fiona. Thank you. I forgot.
Yes.
Listening to intently. Okay. Tell me when you're ready. Okay, we'll get started. So I'll hand over to you. This is item number 5 on page 6.
And thank you, Mayor Perry. I'll just introduce the report briefly. The local water done well reform has required all councils to consider and consult on a preferred water service delivery model, and thereafter to develop a water services delivery plan to give effect to that chosen delivery model. Council completed these steps in 2025, and subsequently in November 2025, a new water organisation, Tiaki Wai, was established with this council as one of its 5 shareholders. The decisions sought in this report before you today are aligned with and a consequence of those earlier decisions council have made on the water reform. These decisions will enable further process steps to be completed to implement council's joint water service delivery plan as is required by the reform legislation. The transfer agreement and process that's the subject of this report for transferring water services are set out in the Local Government Water Services Act 2025. The transfer agreement is effectively the contract between council and Tiaki Wai for transferring water services over. And it has been developed with substantial legal input over an extended period of time from all the parties involved across Tiaki Wai and the shareholding councils. The report outlines the required content of the agreement, which is attached as attachment 2 to the report, and also outlines some processes, delegations, and other mechanics that need to be followed in order to achieve the intended transfer of water services to Tiaki Wai by 1st of July 2026. Just before I move on, we also have online 2 external legal advisors from Checkman Tripp, Penny Kitto and Emily Stewart, who have assisted us in the work around the transfer agreement itself, which is the document at attachment 2. So I just wanted to note them online and welcome them as well. And they may assist us in answering some questions if required.
Move to questions.
Thank you, Chair. Through the Chair to the Chief Executive. It comes from the public forum today as well, some of the relevancy, but if we vote no today, what is our exact contingency plan for the July 1st? Do we have the staff, operators and capacity to safely run our water network ourselves?
Ourselves.
As a council?
We, the only, through you, Worship, the option Upper Hutt City Council has as at 1 July is to have Tiaki Wai of Upper Hutt. There is no option.
Further question, thank you, Chair. To the Chief Financial Officer, if we reject this agreement and go alone, as I said previously, how much new debt would we need to raise to meet the new water standards, and what percentage, and what would that realistically add to our resident rates? I understand we cannot, but
I can answer that. I think I don't have an exact figure. I think it's important that Upper Hutt are reminded that the wastewater treatment plant is shared, a joint venture already at Seaview. Upper Hutt contributes 30% to that. It is a multi-million-dollar facility. It is aged and needs work on it, and we are currently have work monies committed to it. It would be extremely difficult for Upper Hutt to fund any such facility of its own. So if Upper Hutt thought about building its own, the total debt headroom that Upper Hutt has is tens of millions of dollars, whereas what I'm saying to you is a new wastewater facility would be hundreds of millions of dollars. Does that answer that question?
the question, if we vote no, does this council remain legally compliant under the local government's legislations or other rules and regulations?
Could you repeat the question?
If we vote no,
if we vote no, yeah.
No. As of 1 July, no.
and what will be the what will be the consequences of it?
It would be guessing. I don't know what the consequences would be, and I'm not sure it's appropriate to guess. But my honest answer would be government intervention would come to Upper Hutt. But I don't know that because we haven't explored that or asked any questions. I'm only surmising that if council are unable to supply water services to their community, then central government would step in because water is life and it is an essential service. So the people of your community must have access to water. That is part of your responsibility as councillors.
Can I ask a follow up to that? Councillor Donnelly, you finished?
Yeah, done.
Yeah. So in that regard, to see, is there a significant public health risk if we were to delay and then not be able to provide those services, in particular if things go wrong? We don't have the mechanisms by which to address issues that may come up, including we're not collecting the money for the work that needs to be done at that particular point in time.
I think, Mayor, that the reality is to provide the water services that you are charged with providing. Tiaki Wai is the option on the table for 1 July. There is no alternative for meeting your obligations. Was that my?
I have a subsequent question around that, but I have other questions that while we're on the point. So if we do not sign the agreement, that we're one of 5, we talk about a health risk to us as Upper Hutt, but what does it do to the other 4? Which is a further question that probably should have been asked. Because I think we need to, we're told that we're in this as one of 5 and that all 5 need to be at the table. But if we are one of 5 that aren't, what happens to the other 4?
Through you, Your Worship, I think we're surmising, but Upper Hutt is a smaller shareholder in Tiaki Wai. If Upper Hutt were to not go ahead, I suspect you would jeopardise the other 4. It's all suspect because I don't know, but it is very much a model that is reliant on all 5 councils being shareholders and enable the new entity to work with some success.
Yeah, through you, Richard. That's a good clarifying questions. Councillor Dillon's asked most of them, but my understanding is council's made this decision, and the decision we're seeking tonight is actually just administrative in terms of how this process happens, not whether this process happens. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, I think I'll let Liesl and Joe speak, but I mean, I think it is always important to remember this is the context of a 2016 event in Hutt. And through various efforts, the central government has tried to address water so that it is addressed in a more proactive way for New Zealand citizens. And this is where it's landed. The detail of where we are today was decided some time ago by this council. This is a process step of that decision last year.
I'll come back round to you after Councillor Olka.
Through you, Chair. When will assets that are being transferred be made public? So there's been concerns raised about what land assets are being carried over to Tiaki Wai. What can we tell the community and at what stage? Because to be at this late stage in the process where we feel that we have to carry on forward, if there's information that the community don't have, and it's really difficult to bring the community with us in terms of being supportive of the process when they don't have that information.
I'll start and then I'll pass to Liesl and Joe, because it is that we are still working through that. We have done, I'm being selfish because I haven't done much. These 2 have done, and others have done an immense amount of work, and we have huge spreadsheets of everything that will be transferred. And so we're working to finalise those. The substance is known, of course, but there is still more detail that is being worked through, or am I being unfair in that statement?
Through you, Your Worship. That's correct, as Kate has outlined. Essentially, there is a large amount of operational detailed information that sort of underlies the transfer agreement and the process. I guess the information will be made public. There is a legal requirement that it has to be published after it takes effect. So that will be in the first week of July. But as Kate has alluded to, it is in the final stages of review and completion, and the process taking effect in the next few weeks. But I guess fundamentally, as Kate has alluded to, the decision really is around an administrative process step, as Councillor Kerry rightly used a very apt word there. And I guess the detail that sits underneath that, to a degree, is while supporting the decision, it is not the substance of whether the transfer occurs and whether council proceeds with the agreement as presented today. The detail, I guess, is supporting that, but is not the material part of it, if that makes sense.
Yes, a follow-up on that.
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Otto, you're happy to move on? Yeah. We've got two follow-ups?
Yeah.
Okay, you have follow-ups?
Would it be fair to say then that detail is operational,
For you, Worship, yes, I would very much describe it as operational. And the material before you today and the council agenda is what is at the governance level in order to support your decision making appropriately.
Thank you, Councillor.
So on land assets, if I can ask a subsequent question. So on page 17, it talks about not only land estimates, but easements. Council currently has the benefit of over 2,700 easements and growth for water related purposes across the city that Tiaki Wai needs. So my question is when we transfer over these land holdings or easements, should Tiaki Wai no longer need them, do they offer back those land packets to the council? Because I'm under the impression that they probably own them. Where do we sit in that? Do we get first right of refusal? Where do we sit?
No, through you, Worship. When it comes to land assets, as opposed to easements, I'll come back to easements.
Yeah.
So the actual land parcels transferring.
Yeah.
There are provisions under the Local Government Act that any asset that transfers to a council controlled organisation under the Public Works Act, there is a process for it to be offered back in the future if it were not to be required any longer.
Right.
And that applies in this context, and it is referenced in the transfer agreement to that effect. In terms of easements, I believe it's a similar position. I'm just going to look at our advisor's Penny and ask if there is any additional comment that you may have with regards to easements and not being required in the future.
I'm sorry, Liesl, I can't offer that. I can't answer that one just off the bat. We
Thank
need
you,
to
sorry,
further.
apologies. I'm happy to come back to you to answer that question after the fact, Councillor, that helps. But you know, I'm assuming it'll be in a similar context to the land parcels themselves.
If you don't mind, I think just from clarity and just, you know, closing some of the loops for me, I'd appreciate that. And just an FYI to that, please point me in the direction where it does say that the land would be offered back to us, because I'm pretty good at reading and retaining the information, but I could not find it. That hence my question. And I'm happy if you want to come back to that.
Come back to that. I'll go to Councillor Dillon if you're happy, Councillor Swells.
Yeah.
And through you, Your Worship, in the public forum, we heard about delay in to the point of Councillor Swales as well, to delay it and demand for the more transparency around the transfer agreement. What would be the likely outcome if we delay the process in terms of receiving more information or amendment to the existing document?
Not sure I understand the question. Do you understand the question, Kate? I don't agree, Bishop. What you're asking is, could the transfer agreement be delayed?
If the council decide not to approve it today and the process is delayed, what would be the likely outcome in terms of receiving more information? As we heard in the public forum, that there's no information about the assets.
Oh, what further information could we receive in the time that we have?
Is there a possibility?
I think that question's already been answered in terms of operational level information. We're in operational level information now, and I think the reality is, it's hard against the deadline. We have pushed us out as far as we can in the negotiation of making this, getting at this point.
Thank you.
Just another question, if that's right, through you, Your Worship, with regard to land. So we've identified and some of the land, and we're not the only council, that some of those pockets of land are under the Reserve Act. Who pays for that, or is there a cost incurred when we take it out of the Reserves Act so that it can be transferred over to the new entity, Tiaki Wai? I'm just trying to get my head around, we talk about there's possibly going to be some stranded costs once this entity comes up. It'd be nice to know what some of those stranded costs would be made up of.
Could I rephrase that question to be, are the stranded costs of what Councillor Swales is explaining significant enough for us to be aware of them? Is that?
But also, are there costs and that are going to be referred to any reserve land that we have to make? We're doing it not for us, we're doing it for Tiaki Wai.
Yes, through you, Your Worship. My short answer would be that it is a required process step under legislation, and as far as I'm aware, the costs are not significant.
But we pay for that cost?
Through you, Your Worship, I don't believe that has been agreed between us and Tiaki Wai at this point.
Could we raise it?
Yes.
I mean, if we don't ask, we don't get right.
Through Your Worship, the establishment, we have got agreement that the establishment costs in Tiaki Wai are debt funded. And if that was a cost associated with the establishment of Tiaki Wai, I would believe that we could include those as we move forward.
As a transfer, when we're transferring our debt?
So when we're transferring our debt and costs we incur, so we've only got a very limited window though to work it through.
And that's
you've asked 4 questions on the same matter. I'll move on to Councillor Carey. Did you have your hands up? No, nobody else. Councillor Welsh, and then I'll go Councillor Welsh, Wheeler, and then Ultra.
Through you, Chair. To Kate's point about the deadline, it's a self-imposed deadline.
It's not a self-imposed deadline, no, it's a imposed deadline by the process that we've entered into 2 years ago. We've got to hit the deadline of 1 July 6. And we are working with the other 4 councils, and that's the other challenge here, is we are no longer on our own. We're one of a group of 5, so we've got to get this through.
Yeah, so sorry to that follow up. So when you say it's not, so that deadline you're saying that we're working to is not self-imposed?
Through you, Worship. I guess it was self-imposed to a degree, in that the councils in the water service delivery plan set out that it will, Tiaki Wai, or the new water organisation, would take effect from 1st July 26. That was the plan that was submitted last year and that was approved by government. And I guess subsequent to that, the other step that is relevant from a timing perspective is council's amendment to the long-term plan, which has removed water services from our books essentially from 1st July. So
And I think the other thing is that within the next 6 weeks, with Tiaki Wai side of this transaction have to accept what they're receiving. So it's just like any negotiation, it's back and forth.
What was there any benefit to the region by going with that date? Or what was the thought process behind that?
I think that's beyond my scope.
That's a political question, and I possibly suggest the best way would be to
We
go.
must have got a report on it as to why we would go a year earlier than everyone else in the country.
The best way, I think, would be to go back to the meetings where that was decided, and that would have been decided with multiple different councils. So there's lots of content, I'm sure, to watch in that regard.
And just to add to that, Your Worship, at the time in the initial planning and discussions, one of the considerations was actually around looking for a new model to replace Wellington Water sooner rather than later. That was sort of part of the consideration, that the earliest possible time to move away from what is the status quo was deemed desirable and preferred.
Got it, Wheeler.
Thank you. Mine's a bit of a continuation of what Daniel said about we didn't have a choice on the timing. July the 1st was set in the sand, and we've been working around that. So we didn't have a choice on it. So the question was about, do we have a choice?
I think that's already been answered.
Yeah.
Councillor Alter?
Yes, through you, Chair, on option 2, which is do not approve the transfer agreement, point 105, this is on page 20, point 105 says the advantage of option 2 is that it would provide more time for us to identify all assets and to also develop interim shared services arrangements to avoid practical risks arising from day one. And so there are some advantages to option 2, which would pause the process. And so my question is, how much time would we need to finalise that list of assets and shared service arrangements, and would we still be able to complete the process before July 1st?
I will answer first. I think the reality of being able to achieve an alternate shared services arrangement is very slim. So it might be set down there as an added advantage, but it's a very hard, slim chance of doing it. And I think we can, and we would, I think with the working on the asset schedules, we can continue to do that anyway. And I think going back to it, if we work towards shared services arrangement, I can think of other areas we would be, this council has suffered from, we would be a price taker. And we raised that as in the 2024 34 long-term plan.
Yeah.
And it's down the valley with the wastewater, we're a price taker. If we have to go to that, one, it would be very hard to achieve, and two, I have no doubt that we would be absolutely price takers, cost takers. And that would put more cost into the ratepayer.
Price takers of Tiaki Wai.
Would be, yeah, or whatever it was we were agreed.
So into that, are we not price takers? We do go back and what? We have no control over the price that they hit.
Price takers and these price takers. Are you not better to be a price taker in the tent rather than being outside the tent and being told what the price is? I'm not being tricky.
It's not a debate, councillor Welsh, so if you have a
yeah.
further question, I'll allow it, but otherwise I will. Councillor Carey.
Question, what's a fair question for the CEO will start to answer?
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Councillor Wells.
I have a question and it's on page 96 about termination. And it's 1.1. This agreement has a term of 5 years from the effective date of the transfer agreement. This earlier replacement was superseded for a particular name by the registration of the blah, blah, blah. So what terminates after 5 years?
Through you, Worship, the clause referred to, I'm just trying to look at it, on page 96, yep, clause 7 there. That is actually part of Appendix 3 to the agreement. So Appendix 3 starts on page 83 on my agenda. So that termination clause only refers to the land associated processes set out in Appendix 3. The main transfer agreement itself has a different provision relating to termination, and that is on page 75 of the agenda. Clause 20, and that essentially states that the agreement may not be terminated after completion of the agreement, and completion occurs on the transfer date of the 1st of July. So there's two different termination clauses there. The one you're referring to only refers to the matters addressed in the land process steps in that appendix, whereas the main agreement itself,
which is on 75.
Yeah, on 75, clause 20, it, as stated in clause 20.1, apologies, it may be terminated by mutual agreement, however, by not be terminated once it is completed, as in once it takes effect on the 1st of July.
That's a subsequent question. So, thank you. So what you're saying is once we complete everything and sign it, the 1st of July and hand over everything, even though we've got 18 months to do a wash up, right? We can't get out of it.
Correct.
Wow.
The transfer agreement will remain in effect, and that is set through the legislation that provides for it.
Under the local water.
Correct. So it is it's a one-off process, and that provision states that it can't be, this agreement cannot be terminated after that date.
That's
Can I take any questions from anyone who hasn't asked a question? Otherwise, we're going to go Councillor Homan.
Yes, thanks. If we okay this now, when does the debt get paid and when does that show on our balance?
For your worship, so the first initial debt will be novated across on the 1st of July to Tiaki Wai. So there is no payment for the debt, but the debt comes off our books and goes on all the servicing and all the associated interest. Obviously, you're saying will then move over to Tiaki Wai. And then 15th, about the 15th of November, 10 working days after the audit report is signed, the final debt number will be agreed and there'll be a wash up at that stage. But the debt will be effectively Tiaki Wai's debt at 1 July.
Okay, further questions, Councillor McLeod?
Yeah, I just have one about the land. Councillor Swales was talking about reserve land. Let's say an asset is a water tank or reservoir, and so therefore Tiaki Wai would take ownership of that reservoir. Why do they have to have the ownership of the land if it's reserved? Why can't they have an easement or, if they need to cross that land? Why do we have to give up the land that the asset sits on?
Through you, Your Worship.
The principled approach taken to the transfer of land is that first and foremost assessed as being the primary purpose of the land, being for water services. So the parcels of land identified to transfer are largely for that purpose. So primarily it is, like you say, the example of having a water reservoir or similar asset on it. And they have been carefully assessed in terms of what is the impact, should a transfer or not, are there other wider, for example, public access or recreational benefit type arrangements that would justify council retaining the land. So the parcels identified have very much met the criteria as being primarily for water services and do not have additional benefit or purposes for council or the community to warrant it being retained.
All right, I'm going to move now to the voting on the recommendations. Moving the recommendations. So I'm going to move A through L. Do I have them separate? What's that?
Could we have them separate?
I don't think we can have them separate.
I'll second.
Is there a particular one that you would like separate?
Yeah, the first one, which is just receiving and noting the report. And then the rest, so A, recommend 5A is one vote, and then 5B to.
I don't see how you could vote on the rest if you don't accept the receiving. Does anyone else? No, everyone's okay with going A through L. Okay, I've got a seconder. Have I got a seconder? Councillor Holderness. All right, who would like to speak to Councillor Dillon?
Thank you, Your Worship. We have heard the concerns from the community around and the worries around the affordability and everything, but I will be voting yes to the transfer agreement. The reason given is the information we have given so far and the best ability we could work around it and looking at the wider aspect. So thank you.
Any further Deputy Mayor Corey White.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will also agree to entering the agreement over a yes. I think the public health issue is serious. It can go south really quickly. I think we have a duty of care as council to provide water services, and it gives us some stability. And although not ideal, I think July the 1st gives us a bit of safe water.
Councillor Carey.
Yeah, Your Worship. Especially because this is the last really major milestone for council deciding, so I guess it's quite important. I'd really like to thank Acting CEO and Liesl in particular, but all the staff as well for your work. There's mammoth effort. It's been multiple LTP periods. So I think I see the toll, couldn't know what it has been. But I think I'm in support of this. We had a proposal on the table from Labor for 3 waters, which that is not the national. Like government had recognised it, voters have recognised it over multiple years that water and investment in health, which primarily comes from water in terms of council delivery, just follows election cycles and funding with election cycles, and it's not good enough. So actually having a long-term approach like this that provides for that is really the way to go. And so yeah, I'll be voting in support, and I know that this is purely the process step that's followed the decision we've made, but it's important.
I can't vote for this to approve this transfer agreement. Part of the responsibility to provide healthy water is under local water done well. The other side of that is to for it to be affordable, and I don't think that this transfer agreement and Tiaki Wai meets that requirement. Yeah, I won't vote for it.
That's what we like.
Yep, I'll be voting for it as well. Wellington Water was broken. And this is the only option available on the part, so I'll be voting for it.
I'm sticking with the view that it wasn't the best option. It's the only option we have now. When this previous council was looking at it, I came in and submitted against it. I know that Wellington Water wasn't doing very well. I didn't have much time for Wellington Water when I was a city councillor, and I just think Tiaki Wai could possibly be Wellington Water on steroids, and I'm not happy about that. I would have accepted received and noted the report, but not happy to approve the transfer. And the sole reason for that is because I can't now change my mind that I held before I was voted back on council, because I suspect there are people out there in the community that voted for me for the reasons I've just given.
That's a Hammond.
Yeah, thank you. Look, this would be the hardest and most contentious issue that I've seen the time that I've been on council, and I really do thank everybody that's put the work in to get us this far. After listening to all the parties and reading everything available, unfortunately, nobody has come up with any alternative. And we have to look always for Upper Hutt's best interest. We're going to still be losers, and that's because of our size and the fact that we are going to be price takers, and this puts us in this position. And I'll reluctantly be voting for this, with the assurance that we will not let this be another Wellington Water. I'll also employ those that are thinking of voting in the negative. Where's your alternative?
Are we ready? No, Councillor Swales.
I have to agree with my colleagues around the table. I was the alternate for Wellington Water for 6 years, and it was broken, and we had a number of external reports that came and highlighted to us as elected members the downfall of that, and we were looking to remediate those issues. And the first report came from Wellington City Council, which was really damning, but then Wellington Water Commission their own. I agree when I asked the question of one of the members in the community about did they support the process of moving to Metro Water and Tiaki Wai, or were they totally against it and wanted us to keep the water? I agree that the best position for us is to go with Tiaki Wai or Metro Water, but I totally disagree with the process that we've done. I totally disagree with that we've gone in 2026 when we had another 12 months to do that, when we could have been way more transparent with our community. We could have brought our community along with us. And for me to actually vote that we accept this would be going against every other vote that I've had and position that I've stood against when every time a paper with Tiaki Wai has come. And while some people will say that it's a health issue, I believe that if we were the one that were bold enough to say, stop, let's take another 12 months so that we can bring the community with us, I believe that the other 4 councils would have been put in the same position with us, and I would have dared the governor to come in with a commissioner when in actual fact all we were asking for was another 12 months. So I will not be voting for this. I am a representative and a voice of the community, and I'm not prepared to prostitute my position by saying, yes, I will vote for this transfer, so I will be voting against.
Councillor Hodness.
Thank you. Regardless of people's individual positions, we as a council have already agreed basically to the formation of Tiaki Wai, and this is just being able to wrap up all of the legal obligations that we have around that. We cannot provide water services ourselves from the 1st of July. So there is no other option to this. The impact across all of the regions, the other councils, the people who would be without water services from the 1st of July, should we pull out now, is too great. And I agree with Councillor Kerry around that this has been a long time coming to get something in place throughout multiple governments. And I think we've arrived, whilst I appreciate a year earlier than we might have otherwise done, we are here, and therefore I'll be voting for it.
Thank you. Councillor Aldrin.
Yeah, I do have some concern about the initial debt of Tiaki Wai and the fact that our community are guarantors for that. So the council are guarantors, but it's the community who will fund that. I'm not happy with this process, and I have voted against back. It was way back when we were in government workshops and that very early part of the process. I didn't agree back then. It's just the way that the process continues, and we've got the wider region as well. It puts a lot of pressure on us to continue with the process even when we don't fully agree. And it's really difficult to be able to separate those things that you don't agree with and weed them out and get a better document at the end. And so there's still things in here that I think need addressing. So I'll be voting no.
Okay, we'll move to the vote now, if that's all right. Okay, so we're voting now on A through L, and all those in favour say aye. To the contrary, no.
No, I'd like it registered.
Yeah.
Registered, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, if we've got that. So declare that carried. We're going to take a small break now for everyone to 5 minutes. Is that all right? Is 5 minutes enough for people? Just to get our blood sugars back up if anyone needs a little snack. And we'll reconvene in at 20. Excellent. Okay, we're moving on to page 160 of the agenda, request to consult on the proposed road and place naming policy. We have a report from the Group of Services, but I will hand over to Donna Spence from GIS and the GIS manager, and Emily Thompson, our policy manager. Thank you very much.
Koto, do you want to? Cool. Thanks everyone. I will run through just a quick executive summary of what this paper and what we hope to achieve with this policy. So the report seeks Council's approval to undertake targeted stakeholder engagement on proposed Upper Hutt City Council road and place naming policy. The policy has been developed to provide clear and consistent, transparent framework for road and place naming decisions across all of Upper Hutt. Currently, road naming is managed through operational practice rather than a formal policy. While the existing process generally works well, increased public interest, scrutiny, and media attention around naming decisions has highlighted the need for a more robust and documented approach. The policy will support consistent decision-making, strengthen transparency, and ensure alignment with legislative requirements, national addressing standards, and best practice. The policy also strengthens engagement with mana whenua, developers, community stakeholders, while supporting a regulatory processes committee and carrying out its statutory obligations. It incorporates requirements under the Local Government Act, the Australian and New Zealand Addressing Standard, treaty settlement legislation, and Te Tiriti or Waitangi obligations. The proposed engagement is targeted rather than full engagement, as the policy is considered operational in nature under Council's significance engagement framework. The proposed engagement includes elected officials, internal stakeholders, mana whenua, historic societies, special interest groups, and developers through targeted outreach and feedback channels. The policy is not expected to create significant financial or operational impacts. Instead, it is intended to improve efficiency, provide clearer guidance to applicants and officers, reduce inconsistencies, and mitigate reputational and relationship risks associated with place naming decisions. To take questions.
Does anyone have any questions? For I'll go Wheeler, Deputy Mayor White, and then McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. Most councils have a policy. That's the first question, okay? Like, not many that don't have it.
Yeah, we would be a rarity, I think, overall now. Yeah. Yeah, and in the region, we do. Yeah.
And the policy that we've got, is it quite generic? Is it very similar to a lot of the other councils?
Yeah, Yep. I mean, I think there's an element of consistency across councils in New Zealand in this space. We also have, worked very, very closely with the policies that the rest of the TAs in our region have already got published. So there's a real regional consistency within our policy, but naturally each place is different, and Upper Hutt has its own nuances and everything as well. So it caters for that too. Yeah.
Thank you for this. Is there any cost? The cost of asking mana whenua for support with road naming, place names, things like that? What is the cost behind that?
Yep, through your worship. That is a discussion that we'll be having with mana whenua through our Māori liaison officer. So far discussions have basically pointed towards a panel at the mana whenua level that's being kind of discussed at the moment with Wellington City Council, Lower Hutt and Porirua as well, and that has come from their policies being adopted, the road and place naming, they've all got slightly different names, policies being adopted. So at this stage, no costs have been discussed or requested. But we would remain open to that through that consultation process for one.
Councillor McLeod.
So my question is just, some understanding. We've got a private road. Is that what we might call a paper road?
Through your worship, not, it could be, in this instance. So a paper road is generally an unformed legal road. A private road in this instance is when, a wider piece of land is developed or subdivided, and within that subdivision area is a road, but that road is not vested to Upper Hutt City Council.
I've got a further question. It's just just a couple of under the specific rules, just understanding. If we're going to use te reo names, we're often clearly going to have more than, well, we could have more than 20 characters. And so, and the other question around, it's just a language question. The other one is, I think there's other languages that use backbones. And so would that wouldn't preclude another language from being offered?
Yeah, through your worship. Sorry. And
this, is there anything that's happened in the past in Upper Hutt that would not fit this policy?
I'm not going to allow that last question because I think it's probably too difficult to answer and not relevant, but the first two questions, you can answer.
Oh, yep, through your worship. You're correct with regards to the language one. Yeah, absolutely. And we would be very, very, very open to the idea of furthering that and really pushing for that diversity. Yeah. Question number one, do you mind just repeating that one?
Oh, it's just around the
number of characters.
Yeah, like it's.
Yeah, so there's a little bit, so there is guidance in the Australian and New Zealand addressing standard, which depending on the length of the road, there are some guidance around, if it's a small kind of little right of way with a few houses off it, then it shouldn't really be a bit long name. And so it's kind of, it's spoken about within those guidelines. Our policy would allow us to do that, but we would closely follow those guidelines. So officers would, be looking at that from a, what would be the right kind of approach there as well.
I've got Councillor Carey next.
Good question.
The one thing it mentions around, maintaining themes of suburbs. We don't cover the suburbs. You're confident that the policy is going to allow or give you enough control if we're having new development or anything like that, that you can kind of articulate how that would fit, enable that.
Through your worship, yeah, absolutely. The policy, we spent a lot of time working away at that part, and I think that's probably an element where we might be a little bit different than some of the other policies from other councils and TAs that don't run, I guess, a stronger theme. We've very, very closely considered our themes that are existing around Upper Hutt, and the policy would absolutely allow for that. There's a lot of fringe development happening. We've also got potential for new kind of areas to, potentially occur development-wise in the future. So this policy would effectively enable all of that.
Okay. Yeah, hi. A year, maybe even a couple of years ago, a developer came with us with a name for a young child, one of his children that had died, and we took that on, but it wasn't within the theme of the development. Does that affect that type of application?
Yeah, through your worship, it's a really good question. There is a section within this policy, it's mentioned a few times, around commemorative names, and so we would want a little bit of tightness around what the commemorative names would look like, and we would be comparing that against an existing theme, if an existing theme was apparent in that particular area. Yeah, it would depend on if it was deviating from the theme, well, then that would be a discussion point. And the policy's got a bit of a prioritising around how we would view that, or how we would measure the importance of each in that regard. So yeah, we would actually have a little bit more probably on that from a decision standpoint to kind of back us up on that.
Swales.
Thank you, through you, Chair. So on page 170, 171, And it goes over to 172, where you talk about the principle and the naming criteria, and then you've got the table 1, which is the name selection criteria. What's the weighting? Is there a weighting or a matrix?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Through the chair, so that's not that specific. Exercise of discretion by officers around that priority, so first, second, third priority, that is considered on basis, then brought back as a recommendation to the committee. So the committee ultimately makes this.
But thank you, Chair. So if I heard right, there is still going to be our interest groups, our developer, that will be consulted with in mana whenua prior to the officers making a recommendation, then coming to us for us to finally sign off. Okay.
Thank you, it's correct.
Councillor.
Through you, Chair, following on from themes and commemorative names. So from what Councillor Hammond said, that there was a commemorative name before and that we went with that. But the variable in there was that it was also a private road within a themed subdivision or a themed area, but the road that was named was a private road. So what's the variable in there? Sorry, I couldn't find it in here.
Through you, Chair, yeah, that's not a good question. So private or public road, council still has an obligation under the Local Government Act to name those streets. So despite it being private or public, it doesn't have a huge bearing in that regard. I think the difference, obviously, without a policy and the absence of a policy in this instance, or in that example you've used, we didn't really have any guidance that we could provide to suggest otherwise. So that name came forward by the developer. They put in huge due diligence around that name. We then, our officers analysed that. We ran a few checks and balances, and obviously when that went forward, it was accepted and was approved. In this instance, we would have more to measure it against, and we'd be looking at these priorities as well to help us in that decision making. At that time, we wouldn't have done that because, yeah.
Okay, so this would effectively take away that movement that we had at that time. We were able to make a decision not to stick with the theme.
Yep, you would still within this policy have that ability though.
We would still have that ability.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, well,
Just one question, that's right, through Chair. On page 173, it's the review. I thought policies had to be reviewed every 5 years, but you've got every 6 years or sooner. So does that cover it or sooner?
Through the chair, policies, particularly operational policies that are not set down in legislation, don't have specific review dates. We have, as a general principle, proposed 6 years or sooner as a standard across this council, but actually where there's no legislative requirement, that's at council's discretion.
Thank you.
call for a mover now, so this is, councillor.
The table selection criteria, when I read it, it seems to have a hierarchy, drafted a hierarchy of identity metrics based on race, and then in the second part, gender. How does this metric represent the diverse nature of our citizens, and how are we going to ensure that they're represented in Australia?
I'm not going to allow it. So we'll move now to the recommendations. Who can I call for a mover? Councillor Holderness, seconder Councillor Carey. So this is recommendations A through D. and that is to approve the targeted engagement, note the risks and etc. Would anyone like to speak? I would just like to say, commend your meaningful engagement with mana whenua and your intention to continue to do that. And huge mihi to you for that work to our community. Councillor Homan.
Can I just, through you, Chair, say that I think that this will make things a lot simpler for us. We had quite a lot of discussion around that last one, as the acting CEO remembers. And I think this is really helpful to us to provide a framework for our decision making, and makes things a lot clearer for us. So thank you for articulating it so well in here. So I appreciate that.
I'd certainly say this will certainly help the process and the naming of coming here. We've got some themes, and I can see it's probably running out of themes for areas that you started. So I see this as being really, really helpful in that. But I'd just like to make a comment and apologise to Councillor Walsh. I thought that his last question and being shut down the way he was shut down needed an apology, so I apologise on behalf
of who? Yourself?
Well, no, on behalf of you, Your Worship, because I thought it was totally
as a councillor,
unfair.
You can't apologise on behalf of the chair.
I will apologise
So we will now move to he's not able to ask a value-based question, a question about values to our staff. That's unfair. So we're now,
in your opinion,
we're now going to move to voting on these recommendations. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
For the contrary, no. Councillor Welsh, would you like that declared? Recorded. Declare that carried. We're moving on now to item 7. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Emily. Thank you.
I'll wait.
Okay, item 7, prevention of nuisance from fires and smoke bylaw 2026 is on page 178. And I'll hand over to Group Manager Tiaki Wai and others to introduce.
Thank you very much, Mayor Zay. This report presents the prevention of nuisances from fires and smoke bylaw 2026 for adoption. As outlined in the report, the previous 2019 bylaw has lapsed. Under section 160A of the Local Government Act 2002, this report brings forward a replacement bylaw following statutory review and public consultation. The bylaw remains an important regulatory tool. It allows council to respond to fire and smoke nuisance where there is public harm or safety concerns, or where the matter is not otherwise managed by Fire and Emergency New Zealand or FENZ. The need for this tool is supported by the evidence. Council received 235 fire and smoke nuisance complaints between June 2019 and April 2025, and the majority relating to the burning of rubbish or toxic materials. Public consultation was undertaken and council received 7 submissions, all of which supported retaining a prevention of nuisance from fires and smoke bylaw. Health New Zealand, Te Whatu Ora, also provided feedback supporting retention of the bylaw as a public health protection measure. So turning to the substance of the bylaw itself, the proposed bylaw is largely a continuation of the existing approach. The key changes are to make the definition of nuisance clearer and more accessible by referencing the Health Act definition more directly, and to include a penalty section so that the public can more clearly understand the existing consequences for non-compliance. The bylaw is not intended to regulate all fires, nor does it replace the role of FENS. Its focus is specifically on nuisance, health risk and safety risk from fires and smoke within council's proper role. Officers recommend adoption because the bylaw remains the most appropriate and proportionate way to address fire and smoke nuisance. It's supported by the consultation feedback, as I mentioned, and complies with legislative requirements. And I'm very grateful to have Jim, the author of this great piece of work, and Emily, the manager, here today to assist with any of your questions.
Councillor Hammond.
Firstly, what are the points? Just asking for a friend.
Through your worship, up to $20,000. Up to $20,000. Yeah.
So you can tell your friends.
Little Thank you, Chair. Just for clarity, incinerators aren't illegal, but the volumes of smoke from it are.
Through your worship, if they cause a nuisance, they can be, deemed to be a nuisance under our bylaw, and we will ask you to remedy that initially, and then if you don't, you can apply the fine of up to $20,000. But
I guess the amount of smoke is quite subjective.
Yes.
Next question about nuisance, and it mentions in here about fireworks. So the letting of fireworks outside the appropriate time, that come under noise control, or does that still come under smoke? It's a bit of a grey area, but
it is a grey area. We acknowledged with when we're asked about fireworks that we have no control over they want us to ban fireworks in some instances. We simply have no ability to do that through central government. The letting off of fireworks outside of the area, I assume the noise may be a noise thing, but the smoke that comes, the fireworks don't generally.
That's the cause of fire.
They don't. And if the fire is covered by fence, we put the fire out, and the smoke from it is not generally a nuisance for fireworks. So, yeah. So
I'll go. Councillor Ultra.
Yeah, I just wanted to know about, so there's only 7 submitters. Does that reflect a low rate of complaints about smoke?
through your worship, we had 235, was it? Yeah, 35 complaints over the 5-year period. So obviously more complaints than there were submitters. I don't know why. I can't speak as to why we had 7 submissions, but we need 7, and all were in favour of retaining the bylaw.
Michael from Alta and a second Councillor Wheeler. So that's recommendations A through C on page 178 that received the report that adopts the bylaw and authorise officers to make any consequential amendments. Would anyone like to speak? All those in favour say aye. Aye. Terry, thank you.
Yes, I'll
Moving on now to item 8, which is on page 193 of the agenda, and this is the proposed rating principles, and the report is from the acting group manager of corporate services, Sarah. Hello.
Thank you. Kia ora, everybody. Thank you, Your Worship. So this report is about the proposed rating principles. So this is really just formalising a discussion that we had at the 28th of April 26 workshop. And at the workshop, we talked about the rates review and officers' preference to build an overarching rates policy. So this report presents the 6 rating principles that we talked about at the workshop. We asked for your input, whether you're happy with the existing principles, whether you wanted to make any changes. So like I say, this report is just finalising that. 12A to E is what we did put up on the workshop
slides. If has been one that we have added since the workshop. Basically, if all it is saying is that to achieve A to E, you can also use rating tools such as targeted rates, differential. So it's just bringing it upwards so that there are tools there for you to achieve your rating database. If that makes sense.
Thank you. Questions, Councillor Swales?
So I'm looking at option 2. And regardless of a direction that might be given in a workshop, it's actually voted on around council, yes, and it may not have been a unanimous decision. So hence the reason why I'd like to look at option 2. So when I look at option 2, and I look at the disadvantages under A change in rating principles could result in additional time, resources, and uncertainty for further policy development. Which policy development? Is it all our financial development policies? Which ones?
Through your worship, no, this is just creating the new one.
Okay, so it's just then why the uncertainty if you're developing a new policy?
Through your worship, when we say uncertainty, these are principles that we are already using, they are already in existence. If you wanted to add further principles, which is well within your right to, it's just uncertainty of the time that it'll take us to get these principles in place, remodeled for you so that we can bring you back the policy.
Yeah. This is what kind of timeline would we be looking at?
Through your worship, so at the through your worship, at the workshop we did talk about coming back to you in late July from memory.
Yeah.
With competing workloads at the moment, it just might push that out slightly.
Yes, I think the other point to just be mindful of there is a rating policy we need to consult with the community on, and we need to do that before we enter the long-term plan cycle in full, because we need to be modelling the long-term plan figures using the new rating policy rules. Does that make sense? So we need to be out with the community, have the feedback, adopt that. The council needs to adopt that, and then we model that for the long term. That makes sense.
Any other questions, Councillor Maka?
Yeah, so I just want to be sure that I'm understanding. So this is not the policy. This is the proposed rating principles, and we're going to ask the community whether they like them or not. We'll consult with the community and then form the policy. We're going to form the policy and go out to the community.
So currently Upper Hutt City, sorry, have you finished? Sorry, I'm
but yeah, you're understanding what my question is.
I am. So through you, yes. Currently, Upper Hutt City Council does not have a rating policy.
Right.
It is a little bit like the road naming policy. We're a bit unusual.
Yes.
So we're trying to bring these things into the fore.
Right.
To completely lost my train of thought.
So I just think that
so we need these, but you do have principles which fall with it and into place under the laws that currently exist, so the Local Government Act, etc. And so you have those principles in place. What this is essentially doing is bringing those principles into one place and saying, is this what the community wants? So we're asking the question. And then what Sarah's asking for is taking that and then modelling that to see what it would look like using the tools that she talks about here.
Okay, so then my question around that is, because there was talk about going to the community and check, so modelling is going to the community for checking, or the policy?
So the policy will go out to the community.
Right.
And the modelling will be coming back to you and will be forming part of the policy.
Right, okay. Cool.
Sorry, through you, Chair.
Excellent.
Okay, I call for a mover. Councillor Dillon, seconder, Councillor Hammond. Would anyone like to speak? Councillor Swales.
So once we've done all that and we've gone out and we've consulted and they come back that they want to see changes to the principles, we're able to do that?
Through you, worship, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, we'll move to a vote. So this is on recommendations as outlined in the report. Option 1 and agree to adopt the response. All those in favour say aye. Who no? That carries.
Can I just make a note, Your Worship? Could in the minutes, could the paragraphs 12A to 12F be added to the minutes?
So in the report. What do you mean, sorry?
Oh, all right.
I'm not making a judgment. I just didn't understand what you mean.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Okay. It always feels like this time in the meeting that we get you here. This late hour.
It's the final countdown, guys.
It's the final countdown. So we do have quite a bit more to go, but we're very grateful. Thank you for joining us. So we are moving on to item 9 of 20. Tiaka o Te Kupenga, Maidstone Trust, Park Trust Statement of Intent for the coming year to 2029. This is on page 197 of the agenda.
Oh, Hilda, welcome. Thanks for having me. Obviously we went through the workshop a couple of weeks ago and we went over the statement of intent. We answered all the questions that you guys had, and here it is formally presented to you. So open to questions.
Do members have any questions?
Haven't last time. Councillor Aldous.
It's kind of a question, but I was thinking, just seeing how busy it was when we visited the other day, and how much capacity do you have for increasing from where we're at now in terms of usage?
In the evenings and weekends, it is very, very close to that capacity, but in saying that, there's also room to move. So there's lots of moving pieces to the different spaces. So for example, martial arts might be finished at 7:30, so that's a room that can be utilised by another group later on. So lots of room to still grow, and grow we will. That's okay.
Can I have a mover? Councillor Carey, Councillor Wheeler. So this is for approving the statement of intent, and do you want to speak? Oh, yeah. And sorry, I'll just read the recommendations and notes the report and receives this attachment. So Councillor Carey will speak.
Thank you. And I'm sorry I wasn't there for the Samway thing, but
You mean for the power? You
sorry?
mean not turning up for the women? Is that what you mean?
And I am, but yes, my comment was on that loosely, and I'm a bit gutted, but I just wonder, like, this is awesome, and what is happening over there is fantastic, just with the growth and how much busier it's getting. I wonder if the future SOI, you know, is there a challenge for Kupenga around maybe looking at something like that? Like, what's an anchor team or something that, you know, we can all get around and make up a Hutt home for as a long-term?
That is currently what the COA are looking at. So that's their whole envisioning, is that that is going to be their home. From the beginning, conversations that I had with the team management is Horridoa Park was never their home. It was very much it's the Lions' home, and the COA kind of just felt like they were shoved into the corner a little bit, and they never really had a solid base that they could call home. And coming in there over the past few months, they've kind of adapted to this idea that this could be their home, and going forward that's what they want, is they want to solidify themselves as Maidstone Park is their home.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah.
So you brought your season tickets, I have.
59 people for all 3 games.
Helen ain't even turned up.
Can record that.
Put that in the minutes. All right. we've had a mover and a second, every time we get the last slide, the people are up to, so it's. Anyone else would like to speak?
I'd just like to congratulate your organisation entity in the very short time that you've been operating. You know, Whirinaki is a bit of a trailblazer for us as a CCO, and you guys are certainly picking up the bar and actually, you know, meeting the challenge of our community and delivering in so many different ways. So I acknowledge, and I was here at the opening, and it would be great if we could land, as my colleague had said, a team. And what I would like to see, as much as you're succeeding, maybe a statement of intent the next time that just stretches you just a little bit more, because that's something that we always ask about other CCO. Can you just do a little bit more? And it's great that you don't come to us and ask us for any more money, but so I do appreciate that, and you, the board, are doing an amazing job.
Okay, all right. Move to a vote. All of them say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Fabulous. Now for a very similar item, we have Ian joining us from Ngāti Whare Taonga for the statement of intent on page 309. And we've also got Mike Ryan here still. And over to you.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for having me. Similar to the previous item, we talked through the statement of intent of the workshop, which was great, and really valued the conversations that have been there. So we are here now to present this 2026 to 2029 statement of intent in detail. Any questions? Words of encouragement?
There's always lots for you, Leanne. There's no shortage of. Councillor Hammond.
The book fest was absolutely brilliant, worked so well, we couldn't have found a better place for it, and no, thank you very much, and look, you know, you're running it better.
That wasn't a question, but I'll allow it. That's okay, cool. Any other questions? Councillor Sposs.
Thank you for the statement of intent, and the work and the challenge that you're giving yourself. And I know that in these difficult times where money is pressure, do you see the sponsorship space shrinking for you, or is there still the opportunity to go either into the community or, you know, Creative NZ to access, because the program that you've got is pretty ambitious?
Yeah, great question. Creative New Zealand is off the table for us, right? CCO.
Yes.
Sponsorship. Look, it's getting harder every year. Yeah. We try and be as clever as possible. We have Air Playground coming in October, which is a giant. I think I talked about it. And we've just secured Central Building Services as our key sponsor, which is air conditioning. So, I mean, we do our best, but it's nowhere near the kind of sponsorship that we used to get sort of 10 years ago in terms of embassy funding and regional amenities fund and all those kind of big chunks of money that used to be out there. It's more just a smaller amount, low-lying fruit. But we keep trying.
Okay, thank you.
All right, can I have a mover? Deputy Mayor Corey White, and then on this. So these recommendations are to approve the statement of intent and the report. Would anyone like to speak? Everyone's going to jump to commend them, I'm sure. Yes. Do it on behalf of all of us, if you like.
Really strong support of Whirinaki. It's the jewel of our crown, and just keep going and keep doing the great things you're doing. Thank you.
I just acknowledge our wonderful team who are currently doing fire evacuations. Oh, yeah. I've been waving at them. And our wonderful board of volunteers who are very supportive. So I'll pass it on.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. You can go back to the fire evacuation now. More fun, but. Okay, we're on page 242. Application for temporary road closure at Rimutaka Trust for the Upper Hutt Spring Festival. My guess is that this has come to us because it could have made regulatory processes committee in time. Is my guess. We'll hand over to Group Manager Tim Hardy, and yeah, anything else to add, or it's pretty straightforward?
Your worship, it's a straightforward application's been received, popular event, appropriate notifications processes have been followed, and just ask that. Road closure.
Any questions? Councillor Alcott, come.
Could I just ask through you, Chair, what a road closure costs currently?
Through your worship, we'll have to go find out what it would cost for.
He'll take that back to us, to you.
Sorry?
You're saying he'll take it back to you later?
Yeah.
Councillor Sparks.
My question was very much because I know that it's like $10,000 to $15,000, and I know that there are legal requirements that have to be met with regard to that. Is there any way that, because the event has been going for so many years, and this is their biggest fundraiser, a bit like what was mentioned with the book fest, is there any way that we are able to trim our costs to help support this? Because it's vibrant, it brings people to our community, all of those. So I was just want to put that to you, because we don't have an events fund, but it does certainly bring people to our city.
I think through your worship, so this is purely procedural process for closing the road. I can't really comment on the ability for council to support or otherwise the costs of that. So this is just following very much the recipe that we're required to as a road controlling authority. So absolutely understand the sentiment, but in terms of this report, it's
that would be something we would address in our fees and charges. Further questions? No further questions? Oh, you'll move? Yeah, Councillor Ultra will move. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Hammond. Would anyone like to speak?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it was out of scope, I would like to know when we can actually, and I know that fees and charges for road closures have already been set, but I think sometimes we're a little bit limiting. And when we look at a little bit further ahead about some of our events that come, I'd like it tabled sometime that we actually bring it up, that when some of these significant events that actually add to the vibrancy of our city, that we look, particularly if it's an NGO, a non-government thing that is supporting people in our committee. That's just what I'd like to say.
Let's move to the vote. All those, oh, you'd like to speak?
Just on what Councillor Swale said, is that something that he could actually talk about long-term planning, like in events?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So what we'll do is we'll take it as an action to come back later when it's an appropriate time. All right, can I move the vote? Yeah, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary no, so that carried. Thank you very much, Tim. We're getting on to the minutes. So we have on page 249 the record of the council meeting that was held on the 1st of April 2026. Does anyone have any questions as to the accuracy, Councillor Wheeler?
Just an item 8.
Any question is?
What you gonna move it after? Okay.
Just on the scheduled fees and charges. When we actually had the meeting, and this is more of a clarity over process here. So when we voted on the Akatara Cemetery and option B, we started from option B, but option A was the recommended option. So going forward, when we have recommendations and the recommended first, do we vote on the recommended one first, or does it not matter? You can pick whatever one you start.
Is this a question about the accuracy of the
Not the result, just the process. So
we'll take that out because it's not related to what the accuracy, unless you're concerned that the accuracy is not reflected. Is that what you're in the minute?
It's more the process, because can't bring it up anywhere else. So it's about, we voted on option B first. What we have done in the past, we've actually voted on the recommended option. This particular option was option A. And that could seem biased because you might have a preference for that particular option B and everyone votes on it. And we never get to option A, which was the recommendation.
We'll take that away. I think I had advice on it before we presented it, but I can't.
I understand for now, but what about the future? I just want to go.
Happy to come back.
Okay,
We'll take it as an action and email you from governance. We'll email you.
Okay.
But in terms of the minutes, you don't need anything.
No, it was just the post.
Okay, that makes sense. Any further questions or queries on the accuracy? No. Could I have a mover? Councillor Perry, I'll second. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Carried. We now move to the confirmation of the extraordinary council minutes on page 271.
We've got the written.
No, because it's full council. Both were full. So let me put my bearings here. Oh no, 271, I've missed it, sorry. Okay. So 271, 271 of the agenda. This is an extraordinary council meeting that was held on the 28th of April 2026. Do members have any questions related to the accuracy of the record? And just to remember that there are 3 minutes on this in public excluded part. So this is the minutes to exclude the public of that.
Happy to move.
Move, councillor Holderness. I'll second. All those in favour say aye. No, and the final one is smaller. Oh. I haven't got my note, but I'll just bear with it. So 279, the minutes of the Chief Executive Committee, this. It's because, bear with me, it's because they're in different font. I was like, those can't be minutes, but they're the Hutt City ones. I see. Give me a second. And it's also not on my paper. 272, is that right? Okay, so can we have a mover for those minutes? That is.
Oh, hold on. I need.
Bill has to- Also, I've done this one. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Bill.
Right.
Councillor Holt.
It was not that forgettable, but I present the minutes of the Hutt Salary Services Committee and confirm that the records of the meeting held on the 6th of March is a true and correct record. May I have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Okay, so those in support? Aye. Those against? I declare it carried. So I now move that the council adopts the recommendations of the Hutt Valley Services Committee meeting on the 6th of March. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Hammond. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Not to know. Oh, this is painful. Finally, we have page, well, not finally, we have page 279, confirmation of the minutes of the Chief Executive Committee. A final for this paper, we do have. Does anyone have any questions as to these minutes? No. Can I have a seconder? I'll move. Councillor Holt is the seconder. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against declare it carried. So I move that the council receives the minutes of the Chief Executive Committee. Can I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Warren White. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Declare that carried. We're done with this one. All right, so we're now moving to public excluded. I move that the public will be excluded from items 15 to 20 in accordance with section 48(1)(a) of the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 for the reasons set on the agenda, and that the representatives of Buddle Finlay, Greater Wellington Regional Council, Christensen Consulting, Latitude Strategy and Communication will remain for item 15 and the knowledge will assist the meeting. May I have a seconder? Councillor Ultra, thank you. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Declare that carried. So thank you to those watching online. Declare this portion over.